Hey folks, Mike Murtis from GamerLogic here, and this is a first for this channel because I am reviewing a SEGA Master System game. So, without further ado, let's check out this game, Master of Darkness. Master of Darkness, released in 1992 on the SEGA Master System, is often referred to as a Castlevania clone. Being a Castlevania fan myself, I finally decided to sit down and play the game, and by the time I finished, I could agree that there was some stuff that was inspired from the whip-cracking Konami series, though there are some differences. Taking place in 19th century England, players take control of Dr. Social, who is currently investigating an increase in dark and twisted murders occurring during England's full moon nights. When his investigation turns to a dead end, Social looks to the occult to try to find answers, and does so using a Ouija board. His findings are disturbing, not only because it warns him of something sinister happening at the Thames River that very night, but because the board warns him of the threat that Dracula is returning to wreak havoc on the living. Plot development is where this game takes the edge over older Castlevania titles. Cutscenes are presented at the beginning of each of the 5 rounds, expanding the plot even more and giving players a purpose to what the next stage is and a continued air of mystery. With the exception of the final round, each one is divided into 3 sub-levels with the boss fight at the end of the 3rd section. Levels range from the dark streets of London, a wax museum, graveyard, laboratory, and finally a castle. Enemies range from dogs, humans, ghouls, bats, zombies, vampires, along with other gruesome enemies. The bosses themselves are always interesting and have their own little taunts directed to you before you engage in battle with them. Some of these bosses include Jack the Ripper, a crazed psychic, and others await you, down to the final confrontation with Dracula. Dr. Social has a variety of weapons to use against these foes, and no, not a single one of them is a whip. Social's starting weapon is a knife, but it can be upgraded to a sledgehammer, axe, or sword. Master of Darkness also borrows the sub-weapon system from Castlevania, but uses different items. Guns, bombs, and boomerangs make up the majority of the sub-weapons and are very handy when used in the right spots. This game is probably one of the most solid Master System titles I have ever played. Great graphics, great sound, and despite its obvious inspirations, it remains entertaining, though it's not without flaws. My biggest annoyance with this game is with climbing the stairs. Rather than just hitting up on the D-pad, you are required to hit up at whatever diagonal direction the stairs are on. You would think this would make things easier when compared to Castlevania, but I found that at least with the Genesis controller, that Social would always end up walking to the left or the right rather than up the stairs, and if there was a cliff near these stairs, he would fall to his death. Perhaps it's not as much of an issue on an actual Master System gamepad though. Another issue is with the fact that your main weapon can be downgraded as much as it can be upgraded. This makes the player be extra cautious when cracking open masks to get items, because if one is not careful, you can end up getting the knife weapon again, which is not very effective against most enemies, especially bosses. If this happens to you, and you're fighting the boss on your last life, the safe bet is that you're going to lose, and while you do have the option to continue, you'll have to do it from the very first sub-stage of the round. There are a couple portions of this game that look like they were ripped right out of Castlevania 3. Does this stained glass look familiar? How about this clock tower area? How about this? Master of Darkness was an enjoyable experience for me, probably more so because I am a Castlevania fan. You can tear through this game easily in a couple hours, which makes it a great game to play if you don't have a lot of time to spend on one. I gave this game a 8 out of 10. Now for those of you who want to be spoiled, here's the ending to Master of Darkness.